Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Anyway, welcome aboard. ABQ El Senor Michael Rutnin. Welcome aboard. Melanie Keelan says, Michael is too fast. And Yvette Avery Herod is in the house. ¿Cómo estás, la preciosa Yvette? Melanie Keelan says, evening, everybody. Hope you're enjoying autumn weather. Well, I think autumn for us starts I think for everybody starts on Saturday, or I believe maybe, yeah, I think so. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Melanie Keelan. Okay. Eric Hayes says, dress like a slob policy. Whoa, just to suit one person. This thinking is the same policy thinking that has gotten and keeps getting our country in catastrophic situations. Energy or financial or foreign or healthcare, retirement, it is all purpose to make things worse for people meant to benefit for this. The one who benefits are the elite Washington goofs. Senate ditches its dress codes. Here's what it means. What the hell? A dress code? You know what? I am so happy Fetterman is doing what he's doing. He's shaking up these guys that come across and they always wear suits and all of that while they are crooks. And then somebody that dress casually. You know, my wife gives me a hard time because I'm a horrendous dresser. I would go to meetings in shorts and I would go here. I don't spend a whole lot of time on clothing and all of that. I would go into Starbucks and I would be sometimes I look pretty rugged and people would come up to talk to you and they make the assumption, right, that they think they're coming and talk to some goofball. Nah, the clothes don't make a person. Who decide what a dress code is going to be? Who decides what is right or appropriate? You know, we see in certain areas where people put on certain kinds of clothes and it's like, that's not, we have kids going to school with braids in their hair, the guys going in braids in their hair. And it's a problem because one culture doesn't respect another culture and what their dress code is. Fetterman is a working man's kind of guy, and that's how he dresses. I love it. All these other crooks that are out there wearing suits, what the hell? So Fetterman, thank you for shaking that place up. Because a lot of those crooks some of them are messing with their interns and all that kind of stuff. With suits on, they look good. Their dress policy is great. Thank you very much, Fetterman. Thank you, Fetterman. Bridge MCP is in the house. How you doing, my precious Bridge? She says, Eric won't like this one. Illinois has become first state to eliminate cash bail. I love it. I saw that today. For years, cash bail has been criticized for determining who would be chosen for pretrial detention based on wealth. Now, Illinois has abolished it. After months-long legal battle, the state became the first in the nation to eliminate cash bail thanks to a provision in a sweeping criminal justice reform law that went into effect on Monday. The Pretrial Fairness Act, a part of the expansive SAFE-T Act, designed to protect people facing charges from being detained before their trial based solely on their inability to afford bail. Now, state judges will determine whether or not someone can be released prior to their court date based on the severity of their crime or their risk of fleeing persecution. The law was reportedly a collaborative effort between lawmakers, criminal justice reform organizers, and victims' rights advocates to mitigate racial discrimination. While research is limited, available studies show Black defendants are 10 to 25% more likely to be held in pretrial detention or pay bail than their white counterparts. Studies also show Black and brown people often receive higher bail amounts than white defendants. The bail system is a racket made to make money for the least who can afford it. In other words, you are poor and you get into trouble, you have to pay bail. Many times your parents or somebody else has to use the house as a collateral. If for some reason something happens, they lose it all. It's all, again, the constancy in having policies that hurt the middleman, the poor person, the person of color, etc., has been a constancy in this country. There should be no cash bail. A judge should determine your likelihood of committing a crime while you are outside. You know, we try to associate everything with capital, money being a form of capital. I want you to think about this. How the hell do you get from crime to capital as if, well, you know, if this guy is a crook and he committed something, we let him out on bail, and having money out is going to prevent him or her from somehow escaping prosecution because, you know, money is on the line. If you are a crook and somebody puts up bail for you, what makes anybody believe that that crook, if he thinks he's guilty and will be thrown in jail, that he's not going to skip out anyway? And then that 10% bail, or in some cases 1% bail, is lost forever. Again, critical thinking. Critical thinking. The issue isn't about cash bail. Cash bail is just there to make a few people in the plutocracy some money. That's all cash bail does. Make people money using the criminal justice system as a widget to make money for some. That's all it is. Whether a person is released on bail, released or not pre-trial, should be determined by a judge who can calculatively say this guy is likely not to commit a crime while waiting for his day in court. That's what it's all supposed to be. That is what it's supposed to be. And my beautiful Melanie Keelan, I love you saying I am always elegant, but unfortunately, I'm not. Daniel Edo say it is about respect. It is disrespectful to wear pajamas to a funeral. Not if the culture has it that way. Who determines what is the clothing methodology? Who determines that? Right now in America, we were Eurocentric in the way we determine different things. So kids go to school with braids braided hair, which is it is apropos for their culture. And you have some teachers saying, "Get out of here with that style." No. I love diversity. I love combination of stuff. The only reason we are frozen into wearing certain attires is because the powers that be that control this country says so. I want laissez-faire dressing. Laissez-faire dressing. I want it to be that we converge onto things that people like and work. Not that some master, you know, you're still in that patriarchal society where some master tells you how to dress, etc. Look, I am guilty as well. I see certain people in certain kind of rags and I get like, why are you wearing that here? That's because of my Eurocentric way of being. The Eurocentric teaching that I got. As I grow up and as my mind has become expanded, as I have developed independent thought and no longer under the control of some entity, I learned to see things differently. I learned to extricate that out. So that's a case. Anyway, continuing, let's see what else we got here. Eric says, likes Fetterman crime policy, let them all out. That's not, if you believe that, then again, like I said, I suggest you consider critical thinking, because that seems to be in short supply with some folks. But I hope that as you listen to this program, you'll start thinking more critically. AVQ says, Eric, dress code, ha 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 ha. You can't take the right wing bubble seriously. Have to wonder which pundit put this idea into Eric's head. I have no idea. All right, let's go. All my relatives, good day from E2247. He says today's visit will be the greatest ever visit. Thank you. I understand that, my brother. E2247. Melanie Keelan is here. Eric Hayes says, let them criminals out to do the job for the blue politicians. Again, it is critical thinking. We don't want to let out anybody that is likely to commit a crime. Okay? That's simple. And if we live by that theme, we don't need cash bail, folks. The only reason we have the cash bail, folks, is to make money off of poor people. All right. AVQ says conservatives like to put down Chicago for crime. They don't realize Chicago isn't even in the top 10 for crime rates. Actually, if you want to go to the top 10 for crime rates, you have to go to the red states to find the cities where the top crime rates occur. The only thing about Chicago, it's in a media market, and wherever it bleeds, it leads, and it's lazy. lazy reporting that makes people believe that Chicago is a super infested crime area. You know, I was in Chicago for a conference, and I talked to all the Chicagoans, etc. And these folks were like, you know, we see this on TV, and yeah, in some areas it's terrible. But in many areas around the country, that's how it is. Things need to get better. That's what it's all about, you know? Anyway, continuing. Let's see. Fetterman is such a joke that he beat Dr. Oz. Oh, the joke beat Dr. Oz. No, I think it turns out that Dr. Oz was the one who is the joke because he spent a lot of his money, his fortune, to lose a race that he could have won. And the truth of the matter, he could have won it if he had just done some critical thinking, but he didn't. Anyhow, let's go back here now. What we got here. E2247. 7 days ago, Stockholm Resilience Center published a report on all planetary boundaries mapped out for the first time. 6 of 9 are crossed as of 2023. I don't know what that means, so I'll have to read it some other time. All right, let's see, Egberto, but the bad are let out via the blue policies. That is a silly statement, so it's not worth mentioning. Bridge MCP says Fetterman dresses down critics of U.S. Senate dress code reform. Pennsylvania senator known for wearing hoodies and shorts will now be able to do so to vote, angering right-wingers. Fetterman dresses down critics of the U.S. dress code reform. Pennsylvania senator known for wearing hoodies and shorts will now be able to do so, angering. Oh, I read it twice. Why did I read it twice? Oh, why did you write it twice? Vidij MCP? All right. Planetary boundaries are not death extinction sentences, but they are limits that restricts the ability of life to flourish. All right. All right, folks. All right. Let's go ahead and get busy. Today we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start. You know, I really want to get into, well, I tell you what, I'm going to start with a 1-minute video. And it had to do with, the Merrick Garland judiciary hearings. I like how Eric Swalwell made a fool out of the chair of the Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, because, you know, Jim Jordan, when it was time for him to go to the, well, sorry, but also you didn't read it all. I thought I did. Who will not be allowed to wear, let's see, let me go back to what Vidij wrote. She said, in a spat over coverage of the relaxation of the, oh, that's what I missed, over the U.S. Senate dress code, the Pennsylvania Democrat John Fetterman, who will now be allowed to wear his signature hoodies and shorts in the chamber, told the data analyst Nate Silver, I dress like you predict. Okay. I like that. All right. Oh, that's a joke. But I shouldn't have said it to Nate Silver because Nate, actually, no, Nate had some bad predictions. You're right. He's right. All right. Let's continue. Let's see what else we've got here before I move on. Paul Fleming says, I personally don't care how any of them dress as long as they're getting the job done for the American people. That is a smart statement, Paul Fleming. AVQ says, E22, not sure why you posted that science article. And let's see, YouTube keeps buffering even after reload. I don't know why. I have YouTube up here running as well, and I can see clearly. So I am not sure why you're rebuffering. Paul Fleming says, why are we talking about things that don't matter? I don't know how they dress as long as you're working for all of us. That's all I care about. Exactly. All right. This 1-minute tease is what Eric Swalwell did to Jim Jordan, the hypocritical coup alarm, not coup, what should I say? What is that word? Coup complicit representative. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. At the Merrick Garland judiciary hearing, Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell did the right thing. He embarrassed Jim Jordan. But again, Jim Jordan cannot be embarrassed. He thanked Merrick Garland for showing up for a sham hearing. And he said, you are doing something that even our chair of the Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, wouldn't do. Check this out.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. And thank you for coming and doing something that the chairman is unwilling to do. Testify to Congress. Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin.
And as you can see, Jim Jordan didn't even reference it because he knew what the reality was. First of all, the hearing is a sham. Secondly, he's asking those to participate in a judiciary hearing that he was unwilling to do because, of course, we all know these are Trump sycophants and thugs who attempted to overthrow the United States government on the January 6th coup. Absolutamente. So these were the insurrectionists that we're talking about there. And many of those in Congress right now themselves are insurrectionists that in the long run, the people need to extricate out of that body. Now, Daniel thinks that the changes in congressional dress code is another sign of a dying nation. It must be difficult living in that bubble where you think things are just, going out of hand. How can all these things be happening in America? America is going down the drain because there are changes, because we are no longer a country that has allowed the patriarchy to detect how women are going to dress, what women can do with their body, what's the dress code of different people, that people must only wear their hair a particular way. That all of that is changing, and it's freaking people out. It's freaking people out that we are starting to get real liberty. Don't you find it ironic that the same people who continuously talk about freedom, and independence and individuality, when people really get their freedom, when people use individuality where individuality is warranted, these are the same guys that say, now, I want to control you. So think about it, folks. I really want you to think about this logically. The right wing likes to call themselves the party of life. They like to, of the pro-life party. They like to call themselves that they believe in freedom. They like to call themselves that they are that they want independence. They want individualism. They point that those are the things that they want. Yet everything that they do says the opposite. One, they want individualism, but if you get somebody who acts out their individualism, the clothes that they wear, the hairstyles that they have, no, you have to conform to what we tell you is the appropriate Western way to conform. So there goes your freedom. There goes your individualism that they claim they support. They believe in life. They believe that fetus must be held on to. A woman must hold on to that fetus at all costs, even if it's going to kill her. But they believe that you should have privacy between you and that the government shouldn't get involved. But now the government is telling ladies what they can do with their bodies. Oh, wait, I thought you guys believe in keep the government out of your life and also you have the right of privacy. You're an individual. Oh, no. That only applies to some of us when we want to do things a certain way. And then we are the party of life. Okay, you're the party of life, but the policies that prevent kids from dying from hunger, the policies that give people health care to ensure that they can live a healthy, productive life and that they can really be free. We don't want that. No. We don't want that. So remember, everything that you hear Republicans talk about, it is projection. They don't believe in freedom. Look at January 6th. They lost the election in a landslide. Not in the electoral college. Even in the electoral college was a landslide, right? But in the popular vote, they lost the election by a landslide. Ken Buck, a Missouri Republican today, and I didn't have the time to do the video. He came and he bucked all those nutcases in the Judiciary Committee. He's a Republican out of Missouri. And he says, we understand Trump lost the election. Buck says it. Buck out of Missouri comes out and he clearly says, Trump lost the election. I imagine he's going to have a whole lot of spears in his box tonight. But, they don't have the freedom to do anything. They want to control you. They claim they're the party of life, yet they support the death penalty. They want women to die rather than abort a fetus. All these things that they claim is so demonstrably opposite to what they say is simply astounding. All right, let me continue reading what my friends have to say here. All right, let's see. Daniel Ado says it changes. Wait, let me get to Maywood for welcome, Maywood. How you doing, my brother? He says, I don't know, Eric. Most of them turned out to be right-wing infiltrators who showed up to try and disrupt and discredit in protest. But yeah, I can see you might want to let them. No, those guys are crooks. Anyway, Daniel Little says the changes in the congressional dress code is. I read that already. Paul Fleming says the big three automakers have spent $66 billion on stock buybacks and dividends over the decade. The amount amounts to roughly $440K for each of the 150,000 voter workers covered by UAW collective bargaining agreements. We are just supposed to believe they can't afford to pay. They can afford to pay the workers. Again, that's why I said we cannot fall for it. Listen, these guys are going to lose billions of dollars. They think they can hold out. I am telling the workers, hold out. And when their funds get low in the strike fund, we should all send them a few dollars to refill their funds. They are holding out for us. We got to make sure they hold out for us, okay? We got to make sure they hold out for us because those crooks, those parasites that call themselves executives and shareholders, we need to treat them accordingly. They are parasites on the back of working Americans. I'm glad it's good now, Breach. Paul Fleming says, if it is irresponsible of the media to do a one-on-one interview with Trump, it is irresponsible to believe that Trump is capable of a rational discussion. The danger he poses to democracy is not just he lies, it's that he does nothing but lie. But, Trump is not the issue. Trump cannot run. By the way, I agree with you, Paul, but it's deeper. Trump is not the issue. I mean, even if Trump becomes the president again, he has no power unless he has a whole army of people willing to follow him with executive power. And that is where I think many times we miss. We paste it all onto Trump. It's not Trump. There would be no Trump if there wasn't a silent plutocracy backing Trump. Let's not give Trump more kudos than he deserves. Yes, we don't want him because he is the instantiation representation of the evil that those people that are backing him represent. That is true. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says, thank you, Katie Porter. The Inflation Reduction Act included my bill to recoup taxpayer dollars when Big Pharma hikes drug prices faster than inflation. This fall, Medicare recipients will see out-of-pocket costs for 34 drugs down by up to $618 per dose, and Americans will save $63.2 billion by 2031. I want a takeover of Big Pharma. I want pharma to be used just for what it really should be used for, a marketing tool, nothing more, because that's all they really do anyway. Universities make drugs. Universities and the health grant from the health industry, NIH and so forth, are the ones who create drugs. All right. Daniel Edo says it's clear Egberto hates Western culture. I wonder what culture he would prefer. All I really have lived under is Western culture. Because I've lived in the Western hemisphere for the whole time. What I want is a culture that works for everybody, and that is the culture we create. Culture is an ever-changing thing. AVQ says, Egberto, small government conservatives hardly exist anymore. There is no contradiction. Most Republican conservatives are authoritarians trying to get government to push harsh, regressive policy against groups they don't like. Agreed. Ding, 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 ding. Paul Fleming says, once again, President Biden did not indict Trump. Trump was indicted by multiple grand juries of ordinary people who found the evidence against him strong enough to charge him with multiple felonies. His prosecution isn't an act of partisanship. It's a defense of democracy. Perfecto mundo. My brother, conservative Mike Cisak, says there were thousands who rioted around the Capitol and never were arrested and put in prisons for a long time. They were BLM and Antifa rioting in July 2020 against Trump, so they got off scot-free. What they didn't do is they didn't kill police officers in the BLM marches, nor did they throw feces around our federal government. They didn't do any of those things. All right, remember that. And not only that, they were fighting for a real cause. The thugs that attacked our house, our Capitol, they were thugs. They were fighting for nothing other than a lie. But he says no one else on YouTube having this buffering issue and blurry view. Well, you know what's interesting? I just turned and looked to the left. And while I looked to the left, there was a little thing. So there must be some transmission issues a little bit with our restreamer. That may be an issue, but I am just seeing that now, Bridge MCP. I am just seeing that we are having on the YouTube channel. Let me do a refresh to see if that corrects itself or not. I just did a refresh with the expectation. Oh, wow, that cleaned it up. I did a refresh and it seemed to have cleaned up. All right, let's continue here. Eric says the new 80,000 agents will find all kinds of money and come from middle and lower classes. So if any mistakes on forms could be bad for you. You keep believing the hype, Eric. I mean, you know what? They keep your side, the right wingers keep you so scared. It must be difficult when you are surrounded by a right wing that the only way they can get you to do things is to make you scared of those liberals. It must be a difficult life. But you know what, Eric? We love you. Eric, let me just tell you, I love you. All my conservatives in the room, we progressives, we love you. That's why we do what we do. We genuinely love you. All right? We do. We want what's good for you. We want what's good for your family. So don't believe your people. Don't believe those 80,000 agents are coming for you. They're not. They're just trying to make sure we can collect the monies. Okay, that's all. I see a call in from Strong, Texas. Let's see if this is a call. Are you calling a radio show or is this an accidental call? I guess it was an accidental call. All right, let's go ahead and say, what else are we talking about now? The thing about ABQ says, the thing about Western culture is its inclusivity. I'd post the flag for you, Egberto, for the screen. All right, let's go ahead and post the flag that El Señor Rodnin would like us to post. And there's that flag. Black Lives Matter. Science is real. No human is illegal. Love is love is love. Kindness is everything. No human is illegal. Diversity is strength. Disabilities are respected. Gay rights are human rights. POC rights are human rights. Women's rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights. And hate has no home here. I love that flag. Does anybody want to argue with that flag? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think anybody wants to argue with that flag. I love it. Anyway, what else we got here? Let me see who else is writing stuff. Paul Fleming says a black community is in West Virginia sues the EPA to spur action on toxic air pollution. In West Virginia, one of the two majority black communities in the state was left out of a regulatory effort earlier this year to tighten limits on cancer-causing chemicals. They were left out? Why? Daniel Edo says, liar! Not one LEO was killed during the Capitol riots. Egberto is a liar. No, you're right. Not one was killed. 5 were actually killed as a result of the riot. Not my words. Look it up. All right, let's continue. Michael Rubden says from Paul's article, Pam Nixon, a former Institute resident and member of the Charleston, West Virginia-based people concerned about chemical safety, which filed a lawsuit, said their community was often neglected by EPA, said there is no justice yet until all communities are treated the same and until people everywhere are breathing clean air and it doesn't impact the health of their families. Absolutely. Eric Hayes says, Egberto, there were police that were killed in 2020. I don't think so, but if you can show me information from a reputable source, I'll then change my stance. All right, Bridge is rebooting. Okay, AVQ says, yep, I love that flag too. It's a beautiful flag. Paul Fleming says, pro-Donald Trump lawyer Lynn Wood is a witness up for the state in the Georgia election subversion case. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis revealed Wednesday. As LOLO, that's a problem for him. Okay. We have, I want to play a piece that I did this morning on KPFT. I think it's important. Actually, I think it is very important. So let's go ahead and do that right now. It has to do with AI. So here we go right this minute. I want to start out with AI. The theory is this. AI is artificial intelligence. People act like it just showed up this year or maybe the latter part of last year. AI didn't just show up. AI has been in existence for a very, very long time. A tape recorder that took your calls for you when you were not in your office was AI. Right? Somebody else was doing some work for you. As they started to put robots in factories, that is AI. That was building things that humans used to do before. Now we have a bit more interpretive AI. You can go ahead and give AI a transcript and it can go ahead and look other things up in the world and find it for you and help you do things. But it's just AI. When you use a search engine, right? That is AI. You're giving it a bit more direction. When you give it a transcript and say, please develop an essay out of this transcript, it's the same thing, just a different mechanism. And you know what? It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because it means we as people have to work less. What would happen, however, is that the oligarchy, the people who command capital, they would want you to think, fear this guy, because they want AI to be a competitor of you. Remember, capitalism, the theory is that it's the efficient allocation of resources. Is that true? Hell no. It has never been true. If I can program your mind to believe that all things are in competition with other things, right? Suddenly, Medicare for all doesn't make any sense because we need competition in healthcare. All these things we need to compete in now, we need to have AI competing with you. And why do we need AI competing with you? Because it reduces your value, right? If you have to compete with yet another entity, your value is diminished. However, let's remember one important thing. AI does not occur in a vacuum. Artificial intelligence isn't no artificial intelligence. That's what we call it. Artificial intelligence is your intelligence. It's the intelligence of Daniel Cohen that's been placed over the decades that he's been posting on the internet, that he's been talking, that he's been transcribing. AI is you, all the composite knowledge of America, all the composite knowledge of the world. It's in databases all over, but it didn't come out of air. It's you. So you don't need to compete with you. You have always done it. The taxpayers of this world that created the knowledge that the scientists, the engineers, and everybody has, you paid for it. You are the one responsible for that. So therefore, we don't fear AI. What we should do is, in the aggregate, make sure that our laws reflect what AI is supposed to be. But so what I want to do is say, when Bernie Sanders get it, when an 80-something-year-old gets it, that's magic, because it means now we have to get it. I want to play for you what Bernie Sanders had to say, a little narrative.
this push from the UAW for a 4-day work week, is that a negotiating tactic, or do you see that as the future of labor in the U.S., a 4-day work week?
Well, I'll tell you what I think. We are looking at an explosion in this country of artificial intelligence and robotics. And that means that the average worker is going to be much more productive. Worker productivity is going to increase significantly. The question as a nation that we have got to ask ourselves is who is going to benefit from that increased productivity? Is all of that new income and wealth being created by worker productivity going to go to the people on top, or are workers going to benefit? So right now, in my view, I happen to believe that as a nation, we should begin a serious discussion, and the UAW is doing that, about substantially lowering the work week. People in America are stressed out for a dozen different reasons. And that's one of the reasons why life expectancy in our country is actually in decline. People are overwhelmed. They got to take care of their kids. They got to worry about healthcare. They got to worry about housing. They're worried. It seems to me that if new technology is going to make us a more productive society, the benefit should go to the workers. And it would be an extraordinary thing to see people have more time to be able to spend with their kids, with their families, to be able to do more in cultural activities, get a better education. So the idea of making sure that artificial intelligence, robotics benefits us all, just not the people on top, is something absolutely we need to be discussing.
If you're listening to this right now, you are partially responsible for AI. You are partially responsible for robotics. So when that plant, instead of hiring 5,000 people, are going to hire now 1,000 people, and then the robots, which can work 24/7 nonstop, it doesn't need a breakfast break, a pee break, or any kind of breaks like that. Great. That should mean you should be able to spend more time with your daughter, with your son, with your family. It gives you that much more time. AI does, robotics does. Right? And if we as a society looked at what we as a society created and not allow the parasites on top, I repeat, not allow the parasites on top to monopolize on that efficiency we all created. And that's why it's going to take laws, not capitalism. Capitalism says, I take the spoils. I am the one who has capital. I take the spoils. You are just a worker. I lay you off. And if you notice, capitalism is nothing more than antiseptic slavery. And when we really learn that, we will actually start making progress to create a more egalitarian, equitable system where everybody has equal access to success. We have a true free enterprise system where all of us can work and be as productive as we want to be, as successful as we want to be, without having the boot of the corporatocracy on our necks. That is the hope. That is where we want to be. Corporation. Well, I'll talk about that at some other time. All right. Michael Rudden says, as it comes to deaths resulting from January 6th, one police officer died from his wounds. Brian Sidnick, a name that brings out awful reactions on the right. 4 other officers committed suicide shortly afterward, but were not counted as in the line of duty. All right, let's see. E2247 says, I got blocked for those explanations on Twitch. This is history, not opinion. There you go, brother. Let's remember that. Bruce Pollard says, howdy from downtown Houston. I hope you're going to enjoy seeing that former congresswoman who got shot, I think is what you're going to see. I can't remember her name right now. Mike Cisak says, black teen stole a car in Las Vegas and then run white people over with it, including the former police chief. That is terrible. That's horrendous. But you always make me wonder why when black folks commit crime, you're always ready to highlight that the person committing the crime, they are black, you know? Ironically, most crime in this country are not committed by black people. Most crimes that people get locked up for or go in front of a jury and all of that. Yeah, I mean, it's also not black folks, but on a percentage basis, it's higher. But I tell you something, guys, if you want to really take a look at what crime looks like, it will shock you. So be careful what Pandora's box you open by trying to racialize crime. Crime should not be racialized. Okay. Let's see. CNBC's a majority, 81% of workers say they'd be more productive if they were given the chance to work a 4-day work week. And it could be an even bigger boost for those facing higher rates of burnout, according to new research. The poll was conducted on Fishbowl by Glassdoor and considers more than 12,000 responses from U.S. professionals. Workers in fields with notoriously high rates of burnouts were the most likely to say they'd get more done if they were able to shift to a 4-day work week. Healthcare workers, teachers, and retail and hospitality professionals. That should start pretty soon. I think we are gravitating towards a 3-day work week based on AI, robotics, and all these other things, which is what I want. I want us to be to work just enough that we can continue society at a level. But again, with all the technology that's coming here, if all of us get the advantage from the technologies, we're not going to lose workers. We are going to give workers more time for the same amount of money that they get. The idea is we have to stop converting our labor into the wealth of others. We have to make our labor be our own wealth. And that is what's not occurring right now. Right now, you get a piece of your labor, and then most of your labor is transferred to Bill Gates and all these other wealthy people. They get a piece of every action. We got to stop that. All right. Paul Fleming says, whoa, Texas teachers fired after assigning an illustrated Anne Frank book censoring one of the most important works documenting the Holocaust and punishing the teacher who dared teach it. It is pretty much in line with what fascists do. I didn't read that story, but I agree. That's sad. Mike Cisak says, Bridge MCP, it's constant in society where it's 8 times more likely for blacks to kill whites than vice versa. Wow. You know why that's true? Because when a cop kills a black person, it's likely not in the stats. You know why that is true? And by the way, I don't know where you got your stats from, Senor. I don't know. The Blaze is not a reputable publication at all, and so one doesn't know how they massage the numbers. But on the top line, I can pretty much say that makes very little sense. But on another thing is murder as a totality of our country is not as much as you think. But that's another story. Michael Rodney says conservatives are always hung up over individual crime stories. They rarely look at crime statistic with a focus of lowering crime. Sadly, they don't see the connection between poverty and crime, and they are reducing the desperation that comes with poverty. Would be more for lowering crime rate than anything else. Yeah, again. It is racialized. And once you start racializing the issue, you get a lot of otherwise good people to really get fearful, you know. I mean, in effect, they put my life in danger, right? When people do what Mike Cisak is doing, they put my life in danger because I have to live my life with the fear of others, the fear that other people believe, even though that fear is a lying fear, right? I never forget the story about my wife going to a bunco here with the women when we just moved into this community. And she would go to bunco, I think it's once a week or every 2. I don't remember how often it was. And they'll sit down and talk and play games and all that kind of stuff. And one woman was super happy to run and tell her, Linda, I broke down in the ghetto. I don't remember where it was, some part on 59. And here's this white woman sitting down in her van, broke down. And these 4 black guys came up to her van and her heart is in her mouth. And these black guys says, we're going to stay here with you until, because it was like, I don't know, early morning or late or whatever. They're going to stay with her until the record truck showed up. She at first was so scared. And, they made her feel at ease and everything worked out fine. And she was so happy to tell my wife the story. And my wife looked at her and said, what really did you expect? I mean, people in all these neighborhoods are living there. That's where they live. People get the impression from TV like these neighborhoods are every time. If you walk in there, it's a death sentence. Crime is bad, but not what people think it is or how it is. and unfortunately, you have people like Mike Cisak when he promotes the messages from the right that are trying to racialize crime. He puts my life in danger, and he puts the life of a lot of people of color in danger because people get a false impression of what crime really looks like, and the people that they really should fear, they don't. The people that are doing the most harm to most of you don't look like me at all. And the interesting thing is that most of the killing that occur in this country is not even with a gun per se, but again, because we've taught people not to think critically, you continue to vote against your own interests. You continue to allow things to hurt yourselves. What can I say? That's why we have politics done right, to really, really try to inform. British MCP says the Blaze told the story, not stats. Also questionable source. A questionable source exhibits one or more of the following: extreme bias, consistently proportional propaganda, conspiracies, poor or no source into credible information, a complete lack of transparency, and or fake news. Exactly. All right, let's see what else I got here. Daniel Edosa, Egberto ain't mad. An elderly man was killed by two kids in a stolen car. He's mad they were identified as black. Very misplaced values with this guy. Again, you know better than that. But anyway, Bruce Fowler says, first step in deracializing justice system is to eliminate cash bail. Exactly. Thank you, brother. You just nailed it. Michael Rodney says, I'm feeling sad that two of our members are shearing from known conspiracy mills. Again, it is sad. But, at some time in life, maybe when a relative of theirs finally brings some black person or Latino person into their communities, or their daughters and marry a black or Latino guy, and they start to have black and Latino or otherwise children, and they realize, oh, these kids are human too. Maybe they will stop posting all the crap that comes out on the right. A lot of times that's what happens. I have a friend that I grew up with. Until the grandmother held that son, she didn't become that fierce supporter of all that, that fierce supporter of eradicating the evil that Eric and Mike Cisak and Daniel Ledo are allowing themselves to promote for others. But again, sometime it'll happen, and that's why I do what I do. All right, let's continue. I won't read the crap that Mike Cisak just pointed out there. But anyhow, I got another video to play for you. And this has to do with how Bush handled Trump. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. It seems like I'm going to be missing one of the videos, but that's okay. Here we go. In the sham hearing with the AG Merrick Garland House Judiciary hearing, it's comical. It's embarrassing to see a body attack its attorney general on all false premises, as well as conspiracy theories, etc. But the Democrats are given some sort of a credibility to the hearing because they are actually using it for what it's supposed to be, a fact-finding mission. They're doing what they're supposed to do, making sure that they ask Attorney General Merrick Garland the appropriate questions. Well, there is one particular line of questioning from Representative, I think from Missouri, Cori Bush, that illustrates what fact-finding, what a hearing is supposed to be like. But what was striking is how she ended it. She first excoriated the GOP for the sham that they're having by saying, this is how it's done. You're not showing favoritism. This is how it's done. But more importantly, the way she labeled Donald Trump and his sycophants was unmeasured. It was unmeasured in the way it provided that oomph to the hearing. I want you to listen to this, then we'll take it on the other side.
I also like an update on when the department will respond to the Oversight Committee Democrats' letter from June 2021 about the memo issued by the Trump administration's Office of Legal Counsel concerning the Equal Rights Amendment. That deeply flawed memo is preventing the Archivist of the United States from publishing the Equal Rights Amendment as the 28th Amendment. I know that OLC issued a short clarification after you took office, but the wording was not a clear repudiation of the Trump-era memo. I urge you to fully withdraw the Trump OLC memo which is baselessly obstructing constitutional gender equality for all. Finally, I cannot overstate how shocked I am by the targeting of protesters who oppose the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, or Cop City, and I urge the department to investigate these obvious violations of civil rights. These may all seem like unrelated issues, but to me, to my constituents, to countless advocates, and to people who are most directly impacted, they are interconnected, and they all speak to whether the department under your leadership will advance justice or simply pay lip service to it. Given the limited time that we have, I don't expect you to comment on all of these issues, but I have a question. Will you commit to working with me in my office on these issues, including having your staff promptly, by writing your position and sending that to us, reaching out to us about all of the issues that we just spoke about?
Be happy to have the Office of Legislative Affairs to work with your staff. I want to say I could not be prouder of the civil rights record of this department. It is the fundamental basis for why the Justice Department was founded. We have a history of also being obviously involved in the 1960s when I came to the Justice Department.
I'm going to stop you. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I just want you to understand where I'm coming from, the things that I would like to see. I don't mean to cut you off, but I need to reclaim my time. Finally, I want to remind everyone yet again that this is what good faith oversight looks like, not the Republican playbook of running interference for a twice impeached, 4 times indicted white supremacist demagogue who would rather overthrow our democracy than admit he lost an election. Thank you, and I yield back.
Again, Cori Bush, she's never missing with her words. And she didn't miss her words this time, but in this case, as well as in many other cases, we can easily say it's apropos. We spend a lot of time. It was definitely apropos, but I love the description she gave for who Trump is and the Republicans on the force that they're running. Right-wingers are living in an alternate reality. You know what? I actually have enough time to do the Lieu piece. I'm going to go over by just a little bit, so let me go ahead and do that. Congressman Ted Lieu, as usual, he is a great, he knows how to put his points together very well whenever he's in one of these hearings. Well, the congressman first played a video at the hearing, the Merrick Garland sham hearing, where they're attempting to somehow make it seem like the Hunter Biden issue is really a real issue. Well, what Democrats are doing in this hearing is turning 2 real issues. And in the case of Ted Lieu, what he decided to do is remind America about January 6th, played it out, and then showed the effectiveness of the Justice Department, even if some of us think they started too late, but in getting the job done, having brought over 1,000 of these people, indicted over 1,000 of these people who participated in the attempted coup, convicting over, I think, 400 or 500 of them, and then highlighting the major ones there. I mean, Lieu did an exceptional job. He used 40% of his time to remind America what that violent event looked like. And then he used the other 60% of his time to go ahead and make the case. He called out all the white supremacists, all the thugs that actually effected this, and he made sure to let everybody know it was on behalf of Donald Trump. Donald Trump told them to do it, and then listen to what he had to say at the end. Check this out. We'll then take it on the other side.
Attorney General Garland, the Department of Justice charged over 1,100 defendants in connection with the attack on our Capitol, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm going to state 2 facts. The people who showed up on January 6th to attack the nation's Capitol were supporters of Donald Trump. They attacked the Capitol to stop Congress from certifying the fact that Donald Trump lost the election. Those 2 facts were so horrible that some in the right-wing media and some Republican members of Congress could not handle that, so they made up conspiracy theories. In fact, Donald Trump called January 6th a beautiful day. He said the people who showed up had love in their hearts. The Republican member of Congress said January 6th was like a normal tourist visit. And some Republicans have said there were no weapons used on January 6th. Attorney General Garland, were there weapons used in the attack on January 6th?
Yes, in the video you already saw some of the weapons that were used, and there are obviously many more, many hours of video.
Another conspiracy theory is that somehow the FBI actually orchestrated this attack. So I'm going to go through some cases that have gone through completion and resulted in sentencing. Joe Biggs was sentenced to 17 years in prison for seditious conspiracy and other counts related to attack on our nation's capital. Have you seen any shred of evidence that Joe Biggs was an FBI agent?
No.
In fact, Joe Biggs was a member of the Proud Boys. This is what Assistant U.S. Attorney Connor Monroe stated about Joe Biggs and the Proud Boys in court. He stated, quote, "They saw themselves as Donald Trump's army, fighting to keep their preferred leader in power no matter what the law or the courts had to say about it." And on September 4th, Joe Biggs stated that he is confident Trump will pardon him. He said, quote, "Oh, I know he'll pardon us. We're his supporters. We went there like he asked." I'd like to now ask you about the case of Stuart Rhodes, who was sentenced to 18 years in prison for the attack on our nation's capital. Have you seen any shred of evidence that Stuart Rhodes was an FBI agent?
No.
In fact, he was the founder of the Oath Keepers, a far-right paramilitary organization. Rhodes asked Donald Trump to call them up as militia. Then I'd like to ask you about Enrique Tarrio, who was sentenced to 22 years in the attack on our nation's capital. Have you seen any evidence that Enrique Tarrio was an FBI agent?
He was not an FBI agent.
In fact, he was the leader of the Proud Boys. What happened on January 6th is that Donald Trump's supporters showed up because he told them to. They marched to the Capitol because he told them to. They attacked the Capitol because he told them to stop the steal. That is the truth, and that is how history is going to record it. Thank you for prosecuting those who attacked our nation's capital. I yield back.
Well, what did he do? He made sure to say how history will record this. It's important for Americans to understand this attempted coup will not be covered, will not be facaded. If that is a word, we won't be able to put a facade on exactly what happened with this attempted coup. Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. Anyway, let me read my brother Rudnin's piece. It says, right-wingers are living in an alternate reality. That's absolutely true. After Trump lied to them over 30,000 times, and their pundits continue to lie to them on the daily, conservatives would rather keep living in their bubble of lies than face reality and admit any sort of fault. It's why conservatives hate fact checkers. Roll call. Republicans dislike social media fact checking. Democrats welcome it. Survey says. And there's a survey that corroborates what he has to say, like he always has. Anyway, folks, please support our program. Go to politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. And please find a way, if you can, if you have the wherewithal, to support what we do. We work very, very hard to make sure that we can get all this stuff done. Likewise, please subscribe, get a paid version of our newsletter. Remember, if you get a paid version of our newsletters, every book that I write will eventually make it into the Substack where the newsletter is hosted, and all of you will have full access to read all my books. Right now, there are 5. All my books you'll have to read again. And as I write more books, I have 3 in the makings right now. You will also be able to read them for free. Just become a subscriber of our newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. We cannot do this without you. Only your support will allow us to continue telling the truth. And again, we won't be successful with all the folks that are completely indoctrinated by the right. But when they come and we talk, we are able to promote. Because remember, most of the people who are going to see this by the thousands are not live shows. It's the podcast. And by us talking to all these right-wingers that continue to live in a bubble, we get a chance to address other right-wingers who are willing to leave their bubble. My name is Egberto Willis. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Subscribe, please. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.